Welcome to this week's Tarot de Marseille card reading of week 42 from October 15 to October 21. Please remember that this is a general reading on the energies going on right now globally regarding politics, climate, etc., and inside of us as human beings and earth people living on this planet, and therefore it will not necessarily resonate with your personal life in details. If you would like a personal reading, feel free to contact me on my email. I do readings in both Danish and English. You can also find additional information on my readings on my YouTube channel, Her Language Astrology and Her Language Tarot, and of course on my website, herlanguage.dk. When I was getting ready to begin this week's card shuffle for the reading, I closed my eyes to concentrate on any special messages, and I had the most beautiful vision of floating just outside the earth, not too far away from the ground, seeing green, almost neon-colored trees everywhere, and it was like everything was surrounded by a soft pink color. After a while the sentence came up, "Two worlds become one," and with that, light from farther out in space started to move closer to where I was floating, which was sort of in the middle, between Earth and outer space, but somewhat a bit closer to the ground than space. And people showed up, out of the blue. We were all holding hands and just being focused on receiving whatever the encounter, dialogue, or contact with these entities. They were not orbs or flying saucers. They were more like entities of light, which were more city-like, as when you're on board on a plane in the night, looking down on the bigger cities whose electrical light just seemed to glow on the ground. It was that kind of vision. So let's bear that in mind as we move through this week's reading too. For this week's reading, only 2 major arcana cards came out. Usually we pull 3 cards, but for this week, however, I had a feeling that the spirits wanted to have our attention on only 2 cards. Now, as always, for more detailed information, I pull a few cards from the minor arcana card deck to elaborate more on each of the major arcana cards. So let's see what this week has for us. First, card number 1 came out, the Magician, Strangeness. This tells us that we have the ability now to start creating the lives that we want or wish for. It's also about being light-hearted, creating without worries and just kind of go with the flow, or should I say go with your creation. The Magician is the first card of the major arcana deck and therefore marks new beginnings with the number 1. In the numerology, number 1 could tell you that you had the chance to become a remarkable person, to do something quite unique in your life. Or you now have the chance to start anew in your life, with new people, situations, jobs, etc. To find some more information on the Magician and what it refers to specifically, we now take a look at the minor arcana cards. The first card that came out was 10 of Wands. Wands is the deck of our physical world, our body, and our creative activity, like the Magician was talking about. So, 10 of Wands is telling us about teamwork, continuous commitment. So we are on the physical level here, and if we look at some of my prior readings, we find that spirituality practiced through our physical body is a new theme for us. Now I feel that Ten of Wands comes in here to remind us that we need to keep up that commitment, to keep treating our bodies with what it needs to be able to communicate better with our higher self, which can come in as thoughts, words or songs you hear on the radio or TV, pictures and words you see in your everyday life through magazines, newspapers, books, and so on. It really starts there, so pay attention to your surroundings every day and maybe start to notice when you're not paying attention, because then our mind automatically will start to tune into what it is you need to focus on. So it's about training too. Of course, we're all born to do this, but for many people it takes practice, simply because they haven't been used to communicate with their higher self before. So we can all learn more. Let's move on to the second minor arcana card to see if there is more info on this. And here we have a messenger of love, a confident, idealism, a young collaborator coming out, Knave of Chalices, whom I believe has been a special guest here in my readings lately. Chalices, which talks about our emotions, sensitivity, spirituality, and psychic ability. However, Knave of Chalices comes out upside down. Now, normally I don't comment a lot on minor arcana cards coming out upside down, but when they show themselves so obviously as the Knave of Chalices does here, I know there is a point to that. Many of the minor arcana cards are looking the same from no matter which angle you see them, or they have so small detailed things as flowers, birds, grass, to name a few, in their picture that it is often not of such great importance. But as I mentioned before, the picture cards, also called the Royal Court cards, and the knaves of all four decks, are showing themselves more clearly due to the fact that they simply have a face and a body, either sitting on a chair or riding a horse, so it's very obvious when they come out upside down because you see it right away. And also I would like to mention that in the Tarot de Marseille card reading tradition, the minor arcana cards are not meant to be read upside down, even if they come out like that. But here I feel that if one of the picture cards come out that way, and it makes sense, then I read it upside down because I know there is a meaning to it. My experience also tells me that spirits have the ability to show up in our work as spiritual guides, teachers, etc., to lead us to the correct message that they want to get through to us. And that goes for healing with crystals, readings with totem cards or angel cards, and many other ways in which we communicate with the universe through our higher self. So that was a small remark on the minor arcana cards in general. Let's go back to elaborate on Knave of Chalices and why he comes out upside down. He is telling us that we don't yet trust this rush of the caring, loving feeling that we get from working with our spirituality or our sensitivity, because we're not used to feel it, to use it as a tool, navigator, or confidant, as the knave is described, the thing inside of us which we can turn to when we need advice in life. But we must keep our commitment to that work with our body, showing us signs, and very tangible signs, of us being in contact with a deeper side of ourselves and life, which turned up with the Ten of Wands. So let's have a look at the last minor arcana card in relation to the Magician to see if we can wrap things up a bit. Here we find Three of Swords. Now, Swords is the air suit of the tarot cards, where Wands and Chalices, as we spoke about before, are the fire and water suit, which are about action and emotions. But now we are at the mental realm, being shown things about our own psychology, intellect, and abstract activities, and in relation to that last description of the Swords deck, Three of Swords actually could relate to paranormal experiences. However, it also talks about analysis, intellectual work, synthesis capabilities, and introspection. Things that came up in last week's reading too, having second thoughts about choosing a life less money controlled. and having some kind of synthesis going on with other worlds through also telepathy and through physical corporeal signs. So to sum up a bit, this is indicating that we still have these somewhat unnormal, to us at least, inner experiences that we cannot seem to integrate into our physical life and creative activities. It seems as if we don't trust that these experiences are actually friendly civilizations coming in, trying to communicate with us, because they care about us, and very importantly, how we treat Mother Earth, who sent us a special message through last week's reading. But whether we like this or accept these other realities start showing up or not, it doesn't mean that they are not out there for us. Free will once again. Okay, so let's move on to the last of the two major arcana cards for this week and see if we receive any deeper info or advice about this. We find the Hanged Man, card number 12, being about sacrifice. However, as you can clearly see, he comes out upside down, which is about constraint, punishment, illness, inability to act, futile attempts, repentance, sacrifice. And that indicates that we are holding something back inside of us, that we think of life as a punishment from time to time, and for some, maybe all the time. And so we think of making sacrifice as something that means to not be happy, not seeking happiness, because it's not real. And we think that it will never happen to us, never to reach what we truly believe is out there for us in life. It's like we feel that we are held prisoner in our own lives, yet we must remember that the society is also us. Each and one of us make what we often call the system. So it is up to us to look above that, and we can, because we created it ourselves with our ego, not with our higher self. So we can rise above this system and look at ourselves with universal eyes, and through that find out what our soul journey here on earth is about, how we make sense. And as far as illnesses, as the Hanged Man also refers to upside down, I have a clear feeling that many people should look more into that soul journey to simply heal what is broken inside of them, which shows in different diseases. That would be one big first step to release one's pain and feeling of being trapped in one's own life. To find more information on this, let's have a look at the first of the two minor arcana cards that came out when I shuffled the deck. They actually came out together, so let's see what they have for us. The first card was Eight of Wands. So here we're back at the physical and creative level of our lives with the deck of Wands. And so Eight of Wands is telling us about projects, expectations, planning and purchase. The second card that came out together with Eight of Wands was Ace of Chalices, telling us that we're also through this card on an emotional, sensitive level as well. And so Ace of Chalices is telling us about abundance, satisfaction, happiness, fertility. This is trying to show us what sacrifice is really about and has the complete opposite meaning from that of ours. It's telling us that we have got it all wrong. The reason we feel trapped and prisoned is that we are being asked to seek different and new directions in our lives than the ones we might have expected to follow, in correspondence with our education, our traditions, the conventional stuff that we got going everywhere in our society. So transmuting into spiritual, sensitive beings match very badly with our understanding of who we are, because we see ourselves as citizens of a capitalistic system and society. So far, we have been led to believe that all our planning and purchases, taking the right education, taking the right job, etc., just doing everything right, would automatically lead to satisfaction and abundance in our life, along with happiness. But all this is actually what had put us in prison emotionally in the first place. So going back to the magician, which was all about creating the life that we want, Something is telling me that we have been misled. We have been blinded, not being able to look at all our abilities to make a fair choice as to decide how to design our own lives. Now, astrologically, Moon is moving into the zodiac sign of Capricorn this week, which is a destiny sign. And so maybe we are being in some kind of denial when it comes to this, not listening to our inner voice, our intuition, instincts, feelings, which all come in with the moon, which is also about our divine side and our dreams. I think I'll leave it there with the interpretation of the two major arcana cards and move my focus on the last two cards on the bottom of each card deck to see how all this will play out for us during the week. Let's, as always, have a look at the major arcana deck first and see what it has for us. Here we find card number 7, the Chariot, which is about victory. It's telling us about ability to lead, spiritual or material development, recognized merits. So we will make some kind of development, but whether it's going to be of spiritual or material nature is up to us. We need to start regarding ourselves as co-creators of this universe and start taking responsibility for our own lives instead of blaming the system. We need to take back the power of our life. And like I mentioned before, the moon is moving into the zodiac sign of Capricorn, the destiny sign. Now Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn, which is about karma, structures, patterns, authority and responsibility. So we might want to take that into consideration. It is about time that we join the game, so to speak, taking our destiny in our own hands and actually start using all of our spiritual and sensitive abilities too, to make sure that we give all the best that we have inside of us. Only in that way can we change the world to a place that we dream of. And we have all something to give. So we might want to look a bit deeper into ourselves to find out what it is that we truly wish to bring to the world. So don't forget that we are free at all times. We came here as free souls, and no matter what we are led to believe about ourselves from the things surrounding us, we must remember that we are not prisoners of what we see. We came back here to planet Earth by free choice to rectify something from a past life. And so when we respond with a clear no or I don't agree inside of us, it's our physical body telling us to respond to the particular situation we're in and do something about it. That leads us back to Ten of Wands when we were reading The Magician. Our physical bodies are telling us the truth about situations, which is why we need to keep up the teamwork and commitment to our body, listening to it instead of trying to control it, making it do what we want it to do, asking instead of commanding. Okay, let's see what's at the bottom of the minor arcana deck. Well, here we find Knight of Chalices turning upside down. So he's like the friend, the somewhat passionate but unfaithful lover, love at first sight kind of energy that we are not mature enough to receive or take in yet when it comes to our more emotional and sensitive side. We are not ready to fall in love with that side of ourselves. It's like we're a bit scared that we cannot rely on this rush of loving, caring feeling inside of us. Will it last? Where will it lead us? But overall, the Chariot card is, like I mentioned before, assuring us that we can feel safe already, that by beginning to think about what there could be more for us in life, we are already on the path of emotional success, of love, and that we have the ability to lead, firstly ourselves, and as a natural consequence of that, also other people who need assistance on their soul journey. To see if there is a last word on this from the spirits, I pulled an angel card from the original angel card deck written and drawn by Kathy Tyler and Joy Drake. The word balance came out as I was shuffling the cards. And so this tells us to keep our balance between the physical world, and here I am especially thinking of our physical bodies, and the spiritual world, our sensitive, psychic and emotional side. And also, we are still in the zodiac sign of Libra, which is all about balance actually, and also beauty and harmony. So we must remember to keep our balance everywhere in our life as good as we can. And here we also must bear in mind the sentence I mentioned in the beginning of the reading about my meditation with the two worlds become one. So it is a reunion between two worlds, our world, the Earth, and the world that is turning up outside of Earth, which of course probably exists as multiple civilizations, just like Earth consists of multiple cultures. Further, two worlds become one can also refer to what I talked about before, the physical side and the spiritual side of us becoming united. So we are on a global scale here, as well as on a personal level, which only confirms that we are a product of the universe and that we contribute to the expansion of the universe through our growing awareness of how everything and everyone is connected. I'm going to leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed this week's reading. If you would like to know more about the astrological movements for this week, also Moon moving into Capricorn as we were talking about earlier, you're welcome to tune in to my website herlanguage.dk. I'm currently working on a video on that. And of course, you can always look me up on YouTube, Her Language Tarot and Her Language Astrology. Wishing you all a great, divinely balanced week. I'll tune in again very soon. Thank you for watching and listening.